And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us here on another edition of the Doing All Right. I'm doing fine. I'm sure that my partner here, Bryan Broaddus, is doing just fine. I hope that y'all doing just fine, man. On this Friday, man, we're going to talk about some players, Bryan Broaddus, boy. Let me just kick it off like this, man. The first 3 running backs I've watched, boy.
Yeah.
They all go to the same school. They go to the same college, boy. Fall Forward University, Bryan Broaddus. These dudes.
Fall Forward University. I like that one.
These dudes all go to Fall Forward, man. They don't mess around, Bryan. They are hard to bring down. They are hard to tackle. And I feel like they wear on you over time, Bryan.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Yeah.
So I just want to let our beloved audience know that it's okay to not just get tied down to one dude. If you don't get Ashton Jeanty, that's fine. Fall Forward University got 2 other dudes in this draft that you'll be just happy with, and they all run with that physical brand of running. Bryan, let's start off with Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Now he really fall forward, Bryan, bro. Now there was something fun I was doing as I was watching this film, and you gave us this advice that sometimes we could just go to YouTube and just find some film. I found a ton of film on Caleb Johnson on YouTube, and I played a game of how many times was he just dragging a defender by his foot. Boy, Bryan, they have a hard time bringing this dude down, and he has great patience and great vision. He's very decisive. Once he makes a decision, he's gone. He doesn't do a bunch of tiptoeing and gyrating and fooling around, Bryan Broaddus. And
right.
I feel like he's looking for contact, but I think he knows when not to take it. You know what I mean? Like he feels when not to take that contact. But when he does, he's normally right in your chest and you're hanging on to his waist or you're hanging on to his foot for 2 or 3 other people to come and help, man. Yeah. And I'm just watching this guy, Bryan. So I say, damn, boy. I don't know if he's going to be a first-round guy or not, man, but if the Cowboys, let's just say that they lose some games and end up in the early second, I think that's where you're going to have to take him. I think in the passing game, I think he catches fine enough. As far as his run blocking, he has the size, the willingness, and sort of the functionality to do it. Needs a little bit of coaching. But I think he has all the tools that he needs to be a really good pass blocker in the league. Bryan, what you think about our guy, Caleb Johnson, running back from Fall Forward University by way of Iowa?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think you've got the player. I think you got the player on the tracks. This is an impressive runner. I think he's got excellent vision. I think he's very decisive in the way he's going to run. I think he can hit the hole with the authority, the power you talked about. He just didn't stop. When he sees that he's going to go, I thought he played with a really low center of gravity, and I rarely got knocked back. You're, part of our university, Fall Forward University, and you got to gang tackle this guy in order to get him to the ground. I think the initial burst, the surge, there's a steady gait to his game. The way he, it's not really, it is not all this like burst, slow down. He's got a really steady way he plays.
Sure,
and I think that you can use him in a gap scheme, a zone running scheme, anything that, where he takes the ball, he's going to press the hole and make a cut. I think those are fine for him. He's built, in my opinion, to give him the ball a bunch.
Yeah.
Workhorse type of player, ball carrier. He just doesn't wear down as a runner. And I thought he set up his blocks well. His offensive line did a really good job of coming off the ball. And then him getting in behind that and then kind of making the cuts, the balance, breaking arm tackles. You mentioned all that stuff. He stays on his feet when he has to deal with traffic. You can use him as a receiver. I thought he did a pretty good job of adjusting to the ball coming to the backfield. He looked smooth receiving the ball. I didn't see a lot of things that really huge concern there. I'm not sure that he has home run speed, and I said this in my notes, but I think he's fast enough.
Sure.
And I think he's got a feel for how to get the ball in the end zone. He makes some good decisions with the ball in his hands. I did see a fumble on the goal line versus Wisconsin, but they were able to kind of get the ball back. But he's the type of player, as you mentioned, that wears you down the more he's handed the ball.
Sure.
And by the end of the Wisconsin game, they wanted nothing to do with him.
Sure.
At the end, they just wanted nothing to do with him. And I think that's the mark of a really good back. This kid reminds me a little bit of, and you know me, I always like to try and give, you know, our viewers, listeners, an idea. This guy reminds me a little bit of Trey Benson out of Florida State last year.
Sure. Sure.
If you watch, because he, you know, Trey Benson was kind of like a guy that he can make the defenders like. I thought he was kind of a, you know, patient runner, you know, like let the blocks develop and then he
Violent.
explodes up through there. Yeah. Yeah. And Trey Benson would school at Florida State. He does a really good job. The vision, the burst, you know, all that stuff. He can really, you know, he can cover some ground.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like this guy caught the ball well enough, very natural. So Benson and then our back Johnson, I think that's kind of a similar type of height, 6 foot, 225 type of guy. Benson might be a little bit more explosive, but kind of the same kind of backs. And Benson was drafted by Arizona Cardinals, I think in the 3rd round.
Sure.
Out of Florida State. So just maybe a little bit of a comparison there for you.
Where do you draft him? Caleb Johnson.
I think he's kind of in that range of probably looking at him as maybe a late 2 is what I would say. Yeah. I think some people probably would have him a little bit higher than me. But I'm going to say somewhere probably between that range, somewhere in the 20s. There in the 2nd round, I think is where people would look at him.
Bryan, I think that the more we watch guys in this class and break down more and more prospects, I think we're gonna hate so many players. It's just gonna be so many players that you're
gonna drive this guy up the board a little bit.
He's gonna drive himself. I'm just watching a lot of these guys, Bryan, and these are.
Do you
guys,
feel like he's a top or second? Do you feel like he's more of a top or second kind of a player
in this draft? Yeah. Now maybe in last year's draft, maybe he'll be a bona fide 3rd round guy. But sure. I'm watching like the Texas A&M edges or whatever. I'm you know.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah, I know, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of those guys. You know, we start talking about some of the later wide receivers and things like that. I'm taking this guy over some of the players that I can't stand. So
he's a good football player. This guy is, as I mentioned, a very steady. Hand the ball to him. He's going to get yards. Sure. I don't think he's going to break. I don't think he's going to break a lot of long runs. But he clearly gets the job done the way he plays.
Now, Bryan, how do you contrast or like what's the differences between him and Hampton? Like they both got some similarities.
Yeah.
They're both physical runs. They're both bigger guys, you know. Hampton allegedly outweighs him by 6 pounds, which ain't too bad because they both play. Yeah. They're both thumping you down a little bit. But what's the differences between Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton from North Carolina?
You know what? They both kind of struggle with the long speed. Sure. So I think that's very similar. I think that maybe Hampton has a little bit more of a burst through the line. Maybe it's the running style with Johnson and the way he kind of waits and then, you know, then he sees the opportunity, then he goes. But man, I mean, Hampton is really, I think, really tough to knock him off his feet.
Punisher.
When he's one of these guys, like he does a great job of finishing runs, the contact balance, the power to run through arm tackles. I think he puts his foot in the ground and makes the read and then goes. And he's not going to, I don't think he's a make you miss type of guy, you know, but there were some snaps where he broke in the open field and got run down. I think that's a little bit of a concern, but there's a lot of similarities, you know, between the two. The vision, I think he maybe has a little bit more creativity than what Johnson has with the way that he's able to navigate through defenses and stuff. But the pad level, the balance, all those things are super positive to me. And I mentioned who this guy reminded me of. He reminded me of DeMarco Murray, watching him run the football. I mean, that's what the pop, his, you know, the way he runs, the little bit of upright, but he's not going to blow you away with great speed, but he's very steady. He's very productive. He's another one of those guys that kind of wears you down. So I kind of felt that was kind of the same thing with DeMarco Murray. You know, you watched him hand him the ball. You know, it was nothing, you know, and DeMarco Murray, I think, had really good time speed, and he had a really long run. I remember one time against the Rams.
Yeah.
That was, that was a, incredible run. But I always felt like that DeMarco Murray, if he had to just kind of, if it was, it wasn't always about the ability to run away from you. It was the ability to make the cut, make a guy or two miss, get some yards, and then keep going forward. And I think Hampton, his running styles are like that to me.
Both these guys, they got a lot of similarities, Bryan. And if
they do.
Like if you're one of the people that's watching along with us and their tags are kind of touching for you, I mean, I get it. It makes sense. The one thing I would try to use to try to, differentiate them or whatever is I think Caleb is a little more decisive when he's like being patient and he's like figuring it all out in front of him. Like I think he makes a lot better decisions, but I also think that Iowa's offensive line played a little better, so
right.
So those kind of factors can help. But I think both the players, Bryan, I think both of them are like right here. But if I had to pick, I think Caleb Johnson did more with what he had than Hampton. But both guys, oh my God, like physical, tough, like bell cow type dudes, Bryan Broaddus. I think they're both second round guys. You can take them right around the same area to me.
Yeah, no, I think that, if you look at Dane Brugler, I think in the top 50, I think he had a trouble differentiating between the two players.
Sure.
And, sometimes if you put a player, you're like, gosh, I don't want this guy to, I've got him say at 30, and I really think he's very similar to the player that I have at 30. So I don't want to drop him all the way down to like 38th. Sure. I think you're dead on with this. I think both these guys are very, very similar in the way. I do like Johnson a little bit more than Hampton.
Yeah.
But it's really, really, really close there. And I would, if you put them both together, if one was 30 and the other was 31 on your board, that is an understandable way to stack your board. You're thinking, well, damn, you got two running backs. No, I like both these guys, and I'm probably going to like both these guys more than I'm going to like somebody else that you talked about. Maybe Ursere or somebody. I'm saying one of these, one of these tackles, or or maybe the Stanford wide receiver. I'm saying I'm not going to separate. I think these guys are really, if you took either one, I think would be outstanding for you if you're a Dallas Cowboys.
So just to let everybody know the information you were saying there, Bryan Broaddus, on Dane's big board, he had Johnson at 39 and Hampton at 40. However, Bryan Broaddus, on Dane's mock draft that came out a couple of days ago, Caleb Johnson was 25 overall in the first round for him, and Hampton was not in the first round. So maybe that shows you where Dane is now.
Well, okay. Yeah, and get ready the next time that Dane does a mock draft.
Hampton going to be at 32 or something? Yeah. Something going to happen,
Yeah. Hampton will be at 25, and then Johnson will be out.
Sure.
Your first mock draft, this is just a little, in the NFL, this is how we always looked at mock drafts, just a little insight, pull back the curtain thing. Some of these guys and gals are really good mock drafters, but what you have to understand is you can't consistently turn in the same mock draft every 2 weeks.
Sure.
Can't do it. You can't. So you got to play with it a little bit. Usually the first mock draft and then the last one. Everything else in between, unless now there used to be a way, Peter Schrager, who works for the NFL Network, him and Cliff Kingsbury were best friends, or still are. So you knew that whoever Peter Schrager picked for the Arizona Cardinals that was who they were going to draft. Happened like 5 years in a row. So he just kept putting the same guy at that spot, so you're like, okay, that's who Arizona is going to take. But these Daniel Jeremiahs, Bucky Brooks, Mel Kipers, the first mock draft really going to be really important. And then every mock draft between there is going to fluctuate with medical information, workout numbers, or hey, I can't just throw the same mock draft out there every single week. So pay attention. The last one I think is the one where you say, okay, now but look and see where some of these guys and gals mock drafting have guys, if they have the same player with a team every single time, they probably know something. That's how I always looked at it.
Man, Bryan Broaddus,
we're gonna do a mock draft when this thing's over. We're gonna do a mock draft.
I can't stand them, so I only do one a year at the very end.
You want to do like we do a show where we do the very last one, right? Yeah. Right before the night before the draft or something like that. One of those things.
You know, if it's gonna be on .com, you run that show. You know, I'll play along with whatever you want to do. But here at the Doing All Right over here on YouTube, we do mock draft version 1 point only, and we do that a couple of days before, and we don't talk about it no more. I can't stand a mock draft, Bryan Broaddus.
Oh, I struggle with. I used to run the mock draft when I was in the pro department with the Cowboys, and I would give the scouts. We used to use Rick Goslin, and when I want to get Rick Goslin on with us one time because Rick is legendary for the draft coverage. Matter of fact, Rick Goslin was the reason why we drafted DeMarcus Ware in Dallas in 2005. He was the reason. Now scouts wanted him. Bill wanted Merriman. We also were in the mix on Spears, but Rick Goslin was the one that got to Jerry and pushed it across the finish line for us to be able to draft DeMarcus Ware. So we'll have Rick on, but he was legendary because he had such a relationship with all these general managers, and these guys were always wanting to help him. So his mock drafts were just incredible. Wow. But he didn't like them either. He wanted to do one. Yeah. He just wanted to do one mock draft because, man, you take a lot of crap from Joe and Flower Mound about your mock draft just folks, look at it for what it is. The first one, like I told you, that's how they think. Everything till the end. Yeah. It's just an exercise of putting names in spots, and people get defensive about that.
Crazy ass people, I know.
They get defensive. Hey, if somebody's doing a mock draft, don't get defensive about it. You could do a mock draft too. I mean, they've got these systems now, but I used to run the mock draft for the Cowboys, and I would use Rick Goslin's top 100 board is what we would draft off of, because you didn't want to use your own board because you would get influenced. Like, oh, I want, so we would take, and then we'd all divide it up. But man, I'll tell you it was only time I really wanted to do that when we got down to the end, where you knew all the medical information, you knew all the workouts, you knew the visits. You don't want to do it before then because you're going to look pretty foolish, I think.
Yeah, well, maybe.
What are you watching, Ginty? How's he playing?
He just broke off another 70-yard run, something that he does every single game. So
yeah.
So Ginty out there trying to break that record, but
yeah, he is.
Man, Bryan Broaddus, boy, I'm just looking at Dane Brugler's, in his mock draft, his 22nd selection for the Houston Texans there. Got a guard, Bryan. They got a guard, Tyler Booker from Alabama. Oh, man, Bryan, these offensive linemen had me upset all year. You know what I mean? Just, maybe a couple I like a little bit, man. A couple of them, like whatever. But boy, Bryan, this one right here, I like me some Tyler Booker, Bryan. Tyler Booker is made of the stuff. He has a list of ingredients that he's made of that I like in my offensive linemen and my guards. Tough, strong, coachable. Yeah. Boy, if you got them three traits, boy, you can come play guard for Voch Lombardi, man. Tyler Booker, Bryan Broaddus. I first watched him. I watched Georgia first.
Yeah.
And I say, man, he's up there. And look, Georgia, Alabama games like that, that's a great test to see like where these guys, trenches wise.
It used to be back in the day when Florida State and Miami played.
Sure.
You would burn holes in that tape because you watched it so much.
Man, the fights that happen in Bama versus Georgia, I'm watching this kid, Tyler Booker, and I go, damn, Tyler Booker's a second-round pick. And, boy, I watched him versus Wisconsin. He was beating the hell out them kids even worse. I say, boy, Tyler Booker's a first-round pick, bro. I'm watching him. He does all of my favorite blocks really well. These one-on-one base blocks, these down blocks, pull, power, wrap to front side linebacker, whooping folk, counter, pull, kicking the end and finishing them. Brian, picking up slants and gap exchanges and all this, being a help guy. If he doesn't have any work, finding some work, being a help guy. But what I love the most, Brian, is that he can dig people out of A-gap. Brian, when you first go to football school, the first thing that they teach you to run the ball is you got to deal with A-gap. You got to block the mic. You got to do those two things to run the football effectively. And he digs dudes out of A-gap, Bryan Broaddus. Sometimes he does it by himself. He has a good feel for the gravity. He bends his knees. And look, I feel like that's important to say in this class filled with children that just don't bend their knees and play with good leverage and hat level. This kid bends his knees and play with good leverage and hat level, and he's strong, Bryan Broaddus. He's strong, and I think he can get even stronger. Brian, he's a joy to combo somebody with. I'm looking at Tyler Booker. I'll take him and put him at right guard. We'll have three Tylers cross this damn thing. I don't care, Bryan Broaddus. This kid can play, man. This kid can play. He is
a very good player. I see him a little different than you in this way.
Man, please.
I don't feel like that at times when his feet stop, I think he gets in a little bit of trouble there. Okay. I think there's some times where he'll get locked up with a guy and then the feet and then have to try and kind of restart him again. And you see him kind of just, it's a little bit of a fight there at the point of attack. Mm-hmm. I did feel like you're absolutely right about the block backs, the angle blocks, the blocks where he's combo blocking to guys. Mm-hmm. I did feel like there were times where he got too top heavy though. I felt like I watched, if you can, the LSU game.
Okay.
And I went back and I watched, and LSU's got some bigger inside guys. But no, he did a fine job. But I felt like there were times, and you're right about the Georgia games, but that was one game where I kind of felt like that he was a little bit more forward than he in some of the other games that he was playing. Because you can see him pull and you can see him locate and you can see him kick guys out. He's a hell of a player.
Sure.
I mean, but if the one thing that I saw that I had a little bit of concern was when his feet stopped and then when he got too far over, like he was lunging. And this isn't so much in pass protection, but it was like some of his run block stuff was just a little bit. But he is a when you watch him play at left guard, he hammers people.
Yeah.
But I think you got the player right. I just would be a little bit concerned about, and if you could, the LSU game, just feet were stopping a little bit more, and he was a little bit out over the skis a little bit more in that game than what I had seen.
Something he does do, Bryan Broaddus, we have this term on my show when we watch a film, Patreon or whatever. I call it tactical leaning, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes as an offensive lineman, they teach you to lean on people. Just be a little heavy, So when I do see people lean a little bit, like there's this real thin line, right? Because sometimes you can get too far over and then you're lunging and you're falling all over.
Yeah, and then you lose your blocks. Yeah, sure. Your body position's bad or poor in that way. Yeah.
Maybe I didn't see it enough. I will go watch the LSU game. Did you watch Georgia and Wisconsin? Yeah,
I actually did, and I tell you what,
it was one more.
I actually threw. Yeah, they were. You're right about Wisconsin. They Wisconsin. They weren't ready for him. They weren't ready for Alabama. Alabama's offensive line will beat you up, and I think that But if you can take a peek at that LSU game and tell me, but he played well. I just say there were a couple of times there where I kind of saw him, and you say the word tactical. I've never heard that.
Yeah, we made it up in the chat, bro.
I like tactical leaning. I've in the league 13 years and sitting in. I wish somebody would have said, "Hey, that's tactical leaning there, Broaddus. What are you talking about? That's not being overextended."
Yeah.
But I tell you what, man, that dude he's tough. He is a tough football player, and you're right. There's a lot of times where he is one-on-one, and getting the job done.
Sure. We get drafting him.
I think when you start to talk about these guys, I think Dane might have him a little higher than I would.
Mm-hmm.
I had him in the second round on my board.
I think that's more fair. Like Dane has him at 22. 22 is a little high for me, depending on what the rest of the draft does.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Go ahead.
I wonder where Dane, and I need to ask Dane this. I'm sure he's going to come up with it pretty soon. Remember, we always have that cutoff.
Sure.
We have the cutoff of where those first round grades are. I wonder where his cutoff is. Is his cutoff at 22? Is this the last first round grade he has? Or is this the start? Or is this into second round grades? And there's a lot of times where we do this and you will have your board and you'll go, I got 18 first round grades.
Sure.
And then, folks, if you're new to scouting and I'm welcome to it. But traditionally you'll have between 18 and 22 first round grades. It seems to work out. That number seems to work out every year you do this. And sometimes you'll be lucky and you'll have 23 or 24 names.
Sure.
First round grades, depending, like last year with all those tackles, the wide receivers. I mean, there was quite a few guys that you could, that thing stretched a little bit. For the quarterbacks, make that thing stretch a little bit, depending on how you have it. But no, it's not, hey, there's 32 first round grades. It's really not what it is. Travis Frederick, for example, drafted Travis Frederick. Travis Frederick was a second round grade on their board, and they dropped down to take him, but they didn't feel comfortable taking him at 18. They got the 49ers. They bailed that thing and they went all the way on to 30, and then they felt a lot more comfortable about taking Travis Frederick.
Also, too, Bryan, let me just be clear. Because some people in the chat, that's gonna take this and run with it. I mean, I don't think he's a Quentin Nelson type character.
This player here.
Yeah. I don't.
No.
I don't think he's a Tyler Smith type character. Like he doesn't move like those guys. Like he's not the athlete that those guys are.
But he is a tough son of a bitch. The way he plays, he is a physical. You painted the right player. I was just my observation where against LSU was he was a little bit more over the top, and but that might be, sometimes you have to lean on these dudes. It's 320 versus 320. You got to lean on these. I mean, hell, we watched the damn sumos. They ram into each other and they're way out over their feet, trying to push each other around.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do that. I felt this though. Sometimes guys that do lean a lot don't feel they're strong enough. Like when they pass block, they have to almost headbutt a guy.
Yeah.
To kind of get him to stop, and so they can sit.
Kelvin Banks does that. Kelvin, he
sure does.
He is a notorious dip under you and thump his head into you guy. Like he's one of them.
Yeah,
dudes.
he buys you space. If you can lean and bump somebody, and then it gives you that ability to extend and then back up.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what you got to go with. Yeah.
I'm gonna go find Bama versus LSU just to study and see what you saw. You know what I'm saying? Because
just please, I'm not trying to influence people.
No.
Trust me, because I think you got the player right, and I would not personally take him at 22 myself.
Sure.
From what I've seen so far, but that's not to mean that I don't think I think he's a really good player. I just, like I say, little bit of the concerns I had were when his feet were stopped, and then him getting a little too far and over his feet.
I think
over his toes.
I think this is very important for me to say this, because this is how I watch film. Like I'll watch it and I give my own thoughts and opinion first. I think that's
don't let me change your mind, please.
But if you say he leaning versus LSU, I want to go see what you're talking about, just so I can see and add it to my list. Yeah. See, I didn't watch LSU. I watched Wisconsin, I watched Georgia, and like one more. I can't remember which one it was. Yeah. But I watched those games. I'll watch a fourth one just to add some information. So when we get on .com, I can be like, oh yeah, that's Bryan Broaddus' lean game. That's the game where he was leaning and stuff. So I can at least go back to that.
This is where you have to do. And I mean, again, there are things when I used to sit in that room with all those other scouts, you could throw a player up on the board and we all look at the guy differently. We really do. And maybe my leaning is different to what, no, Brian, he's not leaning. He's just getting himself in balance. And, I mean, hey, we learn. It's not, I mean, we've all been wrong doing this stuff. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying there's some things, like I said, I think you have the player right.
Mm-hmm.
I just would like, I'm interested to see what you say about the LSU game, if you can get that. And I think you can. I think you'll find that one.
For sure, Brian. For sure. Great conversation though, by the way. And I'm also with you. I wouldn't necessarily take him 22nd per se. The Wisconsin game will get you very excited. I was like, whoa. But if you look at his athleticism,
no, you're right about that. You're right.
He's most likely mid to late second possibly, but I do think that your first round grade is probably going to end around 12 or 13, 14 guys this year. So
it very well could.
No telling where these guys are going.
If we get to this thing and we honestly have 14 names for first round grades or less, now player 22 is, that's a second round grade.
Sure.
And that thing will, I was talking with Zach Wolchuk, our colleague on the draft show and who I work with on 105.3 The Fan. And he's like going, why do I hate all these players? Why am I starting to hate all these players?
That's all.
And I go, Zach, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't go in with the attitude that you hate all the players. Go out there, find, put your board together, find some good things. You'll figure it all out. Hey, we'll get more tape too. Sure. Along the way, the more tape will show up and you can like, oh, hey, go watch the Florida game. Hey, go watch South Carolina game. Hey, go watch this, and then you kind of like, oh, okay. And I have a better, but it's funny how Zach's already like, God, I hate all these players already. And I'm like, don't have a bad attitude going into the scouting stuff already. We don't need that.
He hates those guys because of where we drafted. If we were 32nd overall, he wouldn't care.
You are absolutely dead balls right about that.
Wouldn't care.
Because the fact that you're probably going to be picking 13th or 14th, he is hating life right now, thinking that, and it might have been, hey, all the folks that were lose, hell, you might be right at the end of the day. I just know that when this team has been at their absolute best drafting, that board has fallen to them. And if I'm sitting there at 13, 14 in that area, I'm okay with that. Just let the damn thing fall to me and I'll figure it out.
Now, Brian, I normally hate watching tight ends. I just think tight ends in general are a little boring. They up there with safety and corner. Just kind of.
Come on, bro. We signed up for this whole thing.
I mean, I'll be here, and I hope it ain't too many tight ends I got to watch. What we got to watch, like 15 of them? I hope it, When I first watched Colston Loveland from Michigan, me and you talked about him a couple shows ago.
Yeah, sure did.
I was like, all right, man. I mean, I see what we doing here.
All right.
Not my kind of guy, but I see why a team would like him. I see why he could be good. I think tight end is largely dependent on the quarterback throwing you the football.
Sure.
I like Tyler Warren, though, man. Tyler Warren got a little edge to him, Bryan Broaddus.
All right. Yeah.
Tyler Warren, boy, he moves all over the look.
Yeah, he does.
And I got to be careful with that because Colston
He's
Loveland.
Penn State
tight
Tyler
end.
Warren, Penn State, and then Loveland is Michigan. So just everybody knows who we're talking about.
I have to be careful because Colston Loveland from Michigan also moves all over the damn formation.
He sure does.
But Tyler Warren plays wing, fullback, and he also takes direct snaps, Bryan Broaddus.
How about that? Wildcat. He's a Wildcat tight end.
I say, damn. I never seen a tight end take direct snaps before, Bryan. And that was so exciting to me. He runs with a little bit of violence, don't he, Bryan?
He sure does. And this,
go ahead.
You're right. You're right about him. And I think with Tyler Warren, what's is interesting is that Ohio State game. You're right. They lined him up with the Wildcat, and he's like, "Here we go. Load it up and go." I'll tell you something like this. I think this guy does a really good job of extending his hands and making receptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he does a decent job coming up ball. Did you kind of feel like he was a little clunky? And I use the word clunky as a route runner, that it wasn't wasn't smooth and,
he's not very polished as a route runner.
That's what I used the word clunky, and I didn't know another word, but it's kind of like, and maybe it has something to do with the Penn State uniform that makes him look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you watched you watched our guy last year from Georgia who's tearing up the Raiders, at the Raiders, and it's just everything about him is just like it's like he's watching, like he's doing, like he's downhill skiing, slalom, just fluid. And Warren is a little bit. I didn't think there was a lot of fluidness to his play. But you kind of watch him bang into defenders instead of avoiding him, and then he separates.
That's what I like, though. Broaddus, hold on. When he's in line and he got to run through like a linebacker or something on a crossing route, and he throw an elbow at him.
Yeah,
he throw an elbow at, bro. That's the best. That's what I like about it. I don't like all the clean, cute stuff all the time. That's why I call him a gritty ass dude. He's elbowing people to get off of him to create separation, and then he'll catch the ball on the other side of the line of scrimmage, Bryan Broaddus. That's what I love about him. I love that.
I knew you would like that part about some dude like he's a Bourbon Street drunk. He's wandering down the street, just banging into people as he's getting to the next bar. But this is I can't believe I used the word clunky. I don't even think that's a word. I think I just made up a word. But anyway, he is a good player, though. I mean, he is a good player. You could see him, the awareness. He's a willing blocker. I think there's some lack of a little bit of some sustain. There's some one shot to his game. But I did see him in the Illinois game destroy their linebacker on the second level with a pretty good shot. So I kind of felt like, though, he could get better as a blocker. I thought his hands were reliable for the position. I don't think he's going to drop targets. I mean, when you throw him the ball, I think he's going to catch it. He'll make his share of contested catches because of clunky routes. Mm-hmm. But as a run blocker, I think he's got some promise. I think he's going to need some work at that at the next level. But, it's just, I like I say, that blocking part of it, that's just not where it needs to be for a top guy right now to me. So I really do. I like this guy. I just don't know how advanced the route tree is at Penn State. Did you kind of feel like flats, outs, that kind of route running stuff like that?
That's all he need to run.
Yeah,
that's all he need to run, Brian. That's how I feel about it. Real fast, Brian. Let me just say this. He's right here. He's kind of like this wing type guy.
Oh yeah, it's like 1946 position.
Got the arrow on him. Look what he about to do, dog. Look what he about to do to separate a little bit. Look, get your ass off.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just throwing elbows at people.
My man just. He's like, he can't help himself. Mm-hmm. He can't help himself. He just runs into dudes. That's not the only time he does that. That's like one of the times he does that.
That's just one time. I'll find another one as we're here talking.
No, he'll do it again. Trust me, he'll do it again.
But one thing that I can slightly disagree with you on.
Sure.
Let me just say this. I do agree that he needs the work.
Yeah.
Sustaining blocks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's stuff that you got to bring to the party yourself, and there's stuff that coaches can help you with or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
All the stuff that you can bring to the party yourself.
He's going to bring that. You're right.
He's got that stuff, right?
Right. Right.
And as far as all the other stuff that he's not great at, Lunda Wells will fix all. Whatever tight end coach that's worth his salt can fix these things. I think a lot of times he misses blocks simply because he just want to whoop folks really bad. I think he has enough movement to do it. I think he has enough strength and willingness and grit and grit to do it. It's just like angles is his problem sometimes, and where he'll just slip and fall off of a guy here or there. But I don't really hold my tight ends to that high of a standard, like modern football or whatever.
Yeah.
I know you grew up in this different time where Dan Campbell was blocking for you or something, and Jason Witten was a blocking tight end.
Mark Bavaro. That's the era I come from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, he's not going to be like a I remember when like George Kittle came out, he was such a blocker. And he's not an Iowa type
remember
tight
all
end.
Those Iowa kids were
Hawkinson and all those guys.
Hawkinson, every one of those guys. There were times where they were driving dudes off the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get into a guy and they drive him completely off the film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's different.
But I will say this though. I think he's a better blocker than like a Dalton Kincaid was coming out.
Or you're right. No, you're right.
Or like what's our guy Musgrave from Musgrave.
When he go to school,
Oregon State.
He go to was it Colorado State? Who went to which one of those cats went to Colorado State?
Colorado State, Oregon State. It was one of them, but
Oregon State. Yeah, Oregon State. You're right about that. You're right about that. You're right.
Some of these super receiving, I think he blocks better than those guys. He's not this Brevin Spanford. One of those kind of blockers. Whatever.
Yeah, Kincaid was Utah.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft was South Dakota State.
He
remember that one. Sam Laporta was Iowa. I'm just running him down.
Sam could block. Sam could block a little bit.
Michael Mayer was Notre Dame. We remember that one.
Yeah, he could block.
Luke Musgrave was Oregon State. Good job there, boss. He got that right.
He wasn't blocking nobody.
Schoonmaker we know was Michigan. Who else we got as we're going down here? And then there was that massive ass Darnell Washington.
He could block his ass off because he was a damn guard. He was a guard.
He was a guard. He was an absolute guard.
A damn wide tackle. That's what he was. But anyway, this Tyler Warren character, I think he blocks well enough for people for him to play. He doesn't block good enough to be a blocking tight end, but he blocks enough to play.
I think you got him right though. I mean, like I said, I think there's the thing you mentioned at 6'6", 257. He does bring a lot to the party. He sure does.
Also, Brian, I'm not putting him in the first round like Brother Dane does again. I typically don't want to draft tight ends all that early because I think you can just I think they like running backs. You can just find them a little later. So if you drafted Tyler Warren in the second round, something like that, third round, I'd be upset. I'd be upset. But I do like him though. Like if you took him, you
got to give him his due. You have to give these dudes like him and Loveland from Michigan. You got to give them their due.
I don't want to. I wouldn't draft Loveland all that early because I just don't like taking tight ends all that early. So if I'm taking Tyler Warren like early fourth, late third, or something like that, we could talk. Yeah. We could talk. But in this draft, I don't even want to take him late third because that's running back and tackle and stuff that I could be looking at or whatever. So
yeah.
But he's talented though, fourth round. But I like.
This is the last time we talk about tight ends on this show. I have a feeling.
I can't stand a tight end, Bryan, bro. But if they good, we can do it. But I'm not just gonna. Kyle Pitts was the last one, and he burned everybody out. He burned all of us, Bryan, bro. So I don't have no.
Kyle Pitts.
I got issues here. It's 8:51, Bryan, bro. How the hell we get here?
It's amazing. There's gonna be a day where you and I get to sit in the same room and maybe do this. How about that? That'll be a lot of fun.
Hey man, that'll be fun, and I can't wait to raise my. See, look, I'm loud on this microphone.
I can't wait to go across the table after you and just grab you like I used to those other scouts.
Grab
like
who?
We put hand.
Who you gonna grab? What's wrong with you, man?
Where were you in Green Bay when I needed to stab John Snyder with that knife when
I was
guys
2
coming over the table at me, him and John Dorsey and all these. I'm like, get away from me.
I was 2. I was watching Barney and Blue's Clues. What you mean?
Oh man, you caught up to us though. You caught up. Congratulations.
That means a lot to me, Bryan, bro.
You get to be on the draft show and get your ass kicked. I can't wait to see you on that draft show.
You really don't understand how much, Bryan. I'm loud and pressurous. That's a made up word. I'm from Natchez, Bryan. I'm loud and pressurous. I'm coming to whoop y'all. And see, Bryan, let me tell you something. From this angle, I've been a fan of the draft show for a long time.
Well, congratulations. You're now part of the legacy of it.
I'm going to bring fights back to the draft show. At some point, all y'all just became friends. Y'all became friends and co-workers. Y'all don't fight like you used to. You and Kavanaugh and KT used to be Jerry Spring up in there. Y'all used to fight each other. Bryan, I declare on 12/6/24 when the Voch makes his debut to the draft show, I'm bringing fights back to the party, Brian. If y'all say something I disagree with, I'm gonna ask you why.
Well, I look forward to that. I really do, my friend. I really do.
And we, you know what I'm saying, the views gonna be ridiculous, man. They gonna be going to Twitter and making sure we all right. Hey, yo, Voch, I heard you yelling at Brian and Kyle. Y'all all right?
Yeah, we love each other, man. No problem.
Brian and Kyle.
Part of it, man. I'll yell if you start yelling at Kyle. I'll yell at Kyle with you. I'll do that.
Do it. Jump on Kyle's ass.
Jump on Kyle's ass.
Brian, man, what a show, man. We just get better and better the more we do this, man. I
won't get to see you till Tuesday because we have a Monday night game, and then I got radio till 1 a.m. So I know the Voch man is not going to be up at 1 a.m.
I got to get my
exactly.
Heat, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Tuesday, let's come back and talk about these things. How about that?
We would be very prompt and well rested.
I think a guest. Tuesday. Probably get a guest. I got to get another guest for us there, but you and I'll come up with a guest. We'll have some fun.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here. Chat, tell us if y'all agree or disagree with anything that we said. I know it's bound to be some.
If you disagree with Voch, say that. Don't disagree with me. You know,
yeah, please.
I'm just a old crusty guy. Don't disagree with me.
I've been a fan of you for a long time. You come after these damn people, so I ain't trying to hear you. Don't lie to me. VOCHLO with me, ARD out on my social medias. And we trying to make money on Twitter now, so please go follow us on Twitter. Try to make some money over there. On Twitter. So if you ain't follow me on Twitter, go ahead and follow me over there. And Bryan Broaddus, he's on all his social medias as well. All right, y'all hold it down until Tuesday. We'll have a good show for y'all then. All right, crown.